Flying first with the Royal Canadian Air Force, then with the National Research Council and NASA, Roger Smith was established as a top test pilot. As both an engineer and a test pilot, he has reached the pinnacle of his profession, highly regarded internationally for his innovations, experience, and competence. Rogers was born in Dawson Creek, British Columbia, on April 13, 1936, the only child of parents Douglas and Anna. In 1942, the family moved to Toronto when Rogers' father enlisted with the Royal Canadian Air Force and was then posted to England. While studying aeronautical engineering at the University of Toronto, Rogers enrolled in the regular officer training program of the Royal Canadian Air Force and graduated from the U of T with a Bachelor of Science degree in 1959, followed by a master's degree in aeronautical engineering in 1961. Training at RCAF stations Centralia and Trenton, he then earned his wings and graduated as a pilot officer at RCAF Station Gimli, Manitoba, where he flew T-33 Silver Star jets and was promoted to flying officer. Flying F-86 Sabres, Rogers completed a course at Chatham, New Brunswick, then flew Sabres with RCAF 441 Squadron and with one fighter wing at Marville, France. In 1964, Rogers left the Air Force to be a test pilot with the National Research Council in Ottawa and worked in development and testing of helicopter stability and other research projects. After 3 years there, he was offered a position in the United States with the National Aeronautics and Space Administration. Following a year at the Langley Research Center in Virginia, in 1968 he moved to the Cornell Aeronautical Labs in Buffalo, New York. There, for 12 years, he worked on projects that included handling characteristics of variable stability aircraft and lecturing at test pilot schools. Rogers specialized in projects to develop specifications for the General Dynamics F-16 and flew the McDonnell Douglas F-18 jet aircraft at Edwards Air Force Base, including an F-18 flight with fellow test pilot Chuck Yeager in 1997 on the 50th anniversary of Yeager's first supersonic flight. In 1970, Rogers joined the Niagara Falls unit of the Air National Guard, flying T-33s, McDonnell F-101 Voodoos, McDonnell Douglas F-4 Phantoms and F-16s while commuting from the NASA Dryden facility at Edwards, California, where he started in 1982. The many types of aircraft test flown by Rogers include the General Dynamics F-111 Aardvark, the fly-by-wire Vought F-8 Crusader, the Grumman X-29 forward swept-wing research aircraft, of which only 2 were built, and a telecommunications Proteus aircraft flying at high altitudes for atmospheric and scientific operations. Roger Smith has flown the Lockheed SR-71 Blackbird, the world's fastest aircraft, capable of Mach 3+ speeds and used for high-altitude reconnaissance flights during the Cold War.
Watching the sleek, black SR-71 aircraft roar off the runway and into the sky instilled awe in those aviation enthusiasts lucky enough to see it. The deep rumbling of the aircraft's powerful engines added to the experience. The Blackbirds were designed to cruise at Mach 3.2, just over 3 times the speed of sound, or more than 2,200 miles per hour, and at altitudes up to 85,000 feet. The SR-71 flew at NASA Dryden Flight Research Center as a testbed for high-speed and high-altitude aeronautical research. Pilots Ed Schneider, Roger Smith, and flight test engineers Bob Meyer and Marta Bonmeyer, who are also husband and wife, flew in the extreme operating environment of the SR-71 to gather data and conduct various experiments. Roger Smith is also a retired NASA test pilot. He began his flying career with the Royal Canadian Air Force starting in 1955. In 1970, he became a fighter pilot for the United States Air National Guard and served as group commander of an F-16 air defense unit. Smith was best known as Dryden's chief pilot from 1993 to 2000, heading up a team of 13 research flight crews. In addition to his role as project pilot on the SR-71, Smith was involved in many other high-profile flight test programs, including the X-31 Enhanced Fighter Maneuverability Demonstrator the X-29 Forward Swept Wing, and the F-111 Mission Adaptive Wing research programs.
In Sweden, he consulted on Saab Gripen fighter aircraft development. In January 1993, he became chief test pilot at NASA Dryden and was a project pilot for the X-31, a small delta-wing jet aircraft that first flew in 1990 to explore the benefits of thrust vectoring for fighter aircraft. In 1997, when selected for the Russian-American Flight Research Exchange Program, Rogers flew 4 different Russian aircraft in Russia, including an opportunity to fly the Russian MiG-25 to 81,000 feet. In his final 2 years at NASA Dryden, Rogers was acting director for flight operations, and throughout his career, Rogers has served as both an engineer and a pilot, still continuing his test flying duties. Following retirement, Rogers joined the European Aeronautic Defense and Space Company as a consultant for 3 years in Germany. In 1994, he left the Air National Guard as a lieutenant colonel, but remains active as a consultant in the aviation industry, lectures on aviation topics, and maintains a current pilot's license as a manager and test pilot for unmanned aerial vehicles for the United States Air Force. In 1998, he was awarded the Distinguished NASA Leadership Medal, and throughout his career, Rogers has been active in the Society of Experimental Test Pilots. In 2003, he was honored with the Society's James H. Doolittle Award for Outstanding Management or Engineering Achievement in Aerospace Technology, and is a Fellow of the Society of Experimental Test Pilots and of the Royal Aeronautical Society. When retiring from NASA, Rogers had logged 10,000 hours, with 8,000 of them in jet aircraft and 6,000 hours as a test pilot. With his wife Judy living in California since 1997, Rogers still flies as required to stay current for test pilot work, and is the father of 5 grown children, Lauren, Lisa, Mark, Trevor, and Megan, and grandfather to 6. One of the Western world's most experienced and respected engineering test pilots, Roger Smith was inducted as a member of Canada's Aviation Hall of Fame on June 15, 2017.